This is the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe, and we are sitting here in Brooks Bar, and unless, like, Jesus comes to the Fringe, this is entirely possible. This is my last interview for 2025. Could you tell me your name and your show title, please, last interview of 2025?
My name is Case Watson, and my show is called Welcome to the End of the World, and I am just honored to be your last. My goodness.
It's my absolute pleasure to have you. We've been trying to organise this for a few days now, but you got here. Fringe moves quickly.
It does, especially the latter 2 weeks. They've just flown by, but it's lovely that, as soon as you're done with one Fringe, you kind of already get to start planning your next one. So that's keeping me excited and hopeful.
Have you already started planning the next one?
A little bit, yes. This is a show that I've been developing specifically for this year's Fringe, and the concept of it has been in the works for a few years, and I finally got. Can I say shit?
You can say anything.
Dangerous. But I finally got my shit together and developed the show for this Fringe, and I want to keep up this new format that is a combination of music, storytelling, projection design for next year. So yeah.
So let's talk about Welcome to the End of the World. What is it? Tell us about the show.
Thank you for asking. Welcome to the End of the World is a live music and storytelling show that interweaves my original songs, about 7 or 8 of them, with stories about essentially what disaster studies have shown us throughout history, which is that in times of crisis, human beings actually come together and form these really beautiful, almost utopian communities based on mutual need and support and finding a common purpose. So this notion that, we're all chaos agents in times of crisis is really a myth, and that's what I want to highlight in this show.
What research did you do into historical events, and how much did you bring into the show from that research?
I started with a book by Rebecca Solnit called A Paradise Built in Hell. She looks at, I believe, 5 or 6 tragedies that include 9/11, the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, Mexico City's earthquake that was, I believe, in 1985, and a handful of others. So that was a really great place to start. She has definitely done her research, and she's also a great storyteller herself, so it's a great read. It's very accessible. Started there. I also looked into a book called... It's a Navy SEAL's guide to bugging in. So how to turn your home into the safest place on Earth. And, that's an intense title, of course. But he goes over things like stockpiling and how to choose a solar generator, those kinds of things that are definitely helpful in a crisis. So, practical skills from him, a little bit of theoretical and historical hope given by Rebecca. Those were 2 really good starting points.
And which ones did you include, and which ones did you have to leave out? And I know that's kind of spoil the territory, but which ones was it important for you to include?
It was important for me to include a story about the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but there was a little girl who was 8 years old when that happened, and the thing that she remembered most about that experience was the beautiful community that formed in the aftermath, and she became an extremely pivotal leader in the radical movement and the anarchism movement. So I won't say who it is. You'll have to come see the show for that. But that's one story I include.
So, about the communities coming together at the end of the world or in a disaster, in 2025, there are always people who say, yeah, that's one thing, but what about this? Like, they're always the whatabouters. Do they play a part in your story?
The whatabouters are not the ones who are actually making an effort to improve the conditions we're in. And I don't really focus on them as much because they are not the ones that are actively harming this beautiful world that we live in. It's important to focus on the power structures and the people in charge of those power structures who are fucking up our shit. The naysayers, bless their hearts, are uninformed, and their pessimistic perspective is by design of those fossil fuel execs. for example.
And there is a lot of that happening at the moment. The world is... how to ask this? We are at a point where many things are not good. How do we come back from this? And is there a community gathered at the moment who are pushing back?
There very much is, and that is a big goal of the show, is I want to help guide people to those communities and those mutual aid efforts already in progress. And, I mean, there's so many wonderful networks and so many resources that people just don't know how to find themselves, but want to. And I think that music is a great entry point for that. Everybody loves music. Everybody feels inspired by a good singer. So, somebody out there gave me a beautiful voice, and that's how I'm feeling supposed to use it.
We met because of another person who's been on the show, Evelyn. I was coming out to her show, and that's how we met, and that's when I learned you were a musician. How do you tie music into the story here, and what kind of musician are you outside of the show?
How do I tie music into the story? I mean, really, for me, it was pretty intuitive. The music that I write is very... I like to speak to the moment. I don't really write love songs. I mean, the love song that is in the show is in the context of the circumstances that we're in, of like, what is it like to be in love at a moment when there's so much anxiety and climate grief. So really, to me, they're kind of inextricably linked. Another part of that question, please repeat.
It was, what kind of musician are you outside of the show?
Oh yes, I very much identify as a protest singer, and Sinead O'Connor is a big hero of mine. So she just was always on the right side of things. She had no moral blind spots, and she didn't let the opinion of the public deter her from what she came to do. And that's who I want to be as well.
She was always on. I mean, the most famous... I hesitate to say most famous, but most well-known incident was her on SNL, ripping up the Pope, Fight for Real Power.
Yes.
Do you remember that moment when you first saw it?
I was too young, I think, to be watching Saturday Night Live at that point, but I have seen that video, and I've seen her talk about the aftermath of it. And I just loved her response. So yes, she rips up the photo, and many years later she gave an interview where she said, oh yes, like I ripped up the photo, threw it on, and there's just utter silence in the crowd. It was delicious. And I just love that she thought of that awkward moment of silence as absolutely delicious. I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I need to aspire to be, to find those moments of discomfort just delicious, rather than be deterred or just accept that they're gonna happen, but yearn for them almost, beckon them.
Discomfort is quite fabulous when used not even in a good way. It can be really powerful.
Yes, it can. I try it, like one way that I like to, I feel it possibly borders on cliche at this point, but I do love to ground myself with that expression that the role of the artist is to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable, to disturb the comfortable. So, that's a great, it's definitely a great tool. I was going to say weapon, but we gotta choose our language carefully, and it's a great tool to use in this fight for a better world.
Again, a very big question, but can you see it getting better? How do you remain hopeful?
How do I remain hopeful? I don't look at institutions or our systems for help. I look on the grassroots level where I see neighbors meeting each other, and I mean, the cliche that it starts on a local level, like that's what it means. My own experience is that in New York I do a lot of sidewalk gardening because on my particular street we just have so much light and so few plants, and it's been shown over and over again that simply planting little gardens on your street can have a positive impact on the temperature of just your block alone in New York City and in other places, of course. So I've started to do that. And in doing that, I have met neighbors that I never otherwise would have connected with, neighbors who have been in Harlem for their entire lives, and here I am with my recovering white guilt as a gentrifier, thinking that I'm offending these people, and then suddenly they say, oh wait, no, I've got all this wood that I can contribute, or I have so many like screws, do you need any pepper plants? I would love to bring you some. And so just it's so healing and heart kindling to see those little connections be formed. And I mean, we really only need 3.5% of the population of a given community to have an impact against these fascist systems that are trying to take away our hope. So yes, little things like that definitely give me hope. And if 3.5% of your apartment building or your city starts to do those little things together, that brings me a lot of hope and excitement about what we can build together.
I do love the idea of community gathering around and it being really on that hyper-local level. It seems so far away, though. At least to me, over here in Scotland, it does.
But have you looked into your local mutual aid communities?
I've looked into it. There's not many, at least not many that I've found. I've tried.
Okay. I think the trick is also to just keep trying. And I know that it definitely does seem bleak, but I mean, it's our nature to find creative solutions and to not give up, and that keeps me going. That there are ways to heal what continues to break because of these, corrupt corporatists and billionaires and CEOs.
These shitheads.
The shitheads, yes, the umbrella term, of course, is shithead.
Sometimes it does seem very, not tiring, but like you're trying so hard and you're getting nowhere. How do you kind of beat that, and how did that have an impact in your show?
So, I look at, like I said earlier, I look at particular instances of where those grassroots communities have had success and where they are currently having success. I mean, in New York right now, we have a really exciting election in progress. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, Mamdani's coming in.
Yes. And, I mean, it's just like we get these little bursts of hope, these little reasons to suddenly keep trying, and hopefully they inspire you and others as well. But I think there are enough of them to make us realize that when we mobilize and bring our various skill sets to the table in search of the same end, it sounds super cliche, and it's what all these fucking corrupt Democrats try to say, but we are stronger together, and we can actually make an impact, and we can embarrass somebody like Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about this election is there's no Cuomo on the bill, is there? Is he running?
He is. He is running as an independent, and he is not doing well, and it's just delicious.
I feel like Cuomo is, if Trump said, come over here, he'd be like, okay, and just toddle off right over there.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, when there's that much ego and narcissism in the same room, who will out? I don't want to spend too much time trying to get inside the brains of who would win in a pissing contest. Yes, who would win in a pissing contest? I was gonna say arm wrestling, but yeah, that's better. There are definitely. Oh, you asked about how these things figure into my show. Well, I give practical advice about how to create a mutual aid network, how to heal the local earth around you. I mean, we think about these disastrous capitalist endeavors that cause horrific pollution that, is destroying the earth that we need in order to grow our food and just, survive. But there are methods, in the show I talk about the idea of phytoremediation, which is the process of removing pollutants from the soil by planting plants. And sunflowers are great at that. So they're not just beautiful, but they actually break up compacted soil. They can remove heavy metals and pollutants and even radioactive material. So you look at a picture of Chernobyl and there are just miles of these beautiful sunflower fields that are slowly doing that good work to heal the earth.
It's so interesting you say about Chernobyl, because I read last year, time doesn't mean anything anymore, but I read recently that there was a mold which had evolved to actually get rid of nuclear energy in Chernobyl.
Yes, and it's that stuff is so wild. It's like some higher power is throwing us a bone. I read the same about a kind of bacteria that has been discovered that can eat away at plastic, and it's not scalable yet. But even something like there was I saw a news alert the other day about an island that had been buried in the ocean for hundreds of years, and suddenly it's emerged from the sea, and it's like the earth is like giving us little gifts to encourage us to keep trying, because it's full of ore and like I don't know, some kind of magical dirt that that we need. I should have read the whole article.
You're busy.
I'm busy. I got a Fringe show, guys. Come see it. 2 more performances.
And what has the audience reaction been like to the show? Do you get a lot of people coming to talk to you afterwards?
I've gotten a number of people to come talk to me afterwards, and I'm doing pretty well as far as tears. I like to get most most shows I get at least one person crying, and that's really nice in a good way. And they were moved. I didn't offend anyone. People being moved by the show, and that's like so lovely that you can create something that makes people feel seen. Because there's so much dread, and dread doesn't really make you cry the way that hope does. So I hope that's the kind of tears that I'm causing.
And what is next for the show? Are there any other news it's going to format? Could you take it and turn it into a novel, a graphic novel maybe? Are there other formats for it? A documentary?
Ooh, a graphic novel. That is one. I've never fucked with graphic novels before. That's a medium that I am not as skilled in, but the day is young. The other night I was drafting up a bunch of tour maps so that I can start to take this on tour in the U.S. and in Europe. So hopefully I'll be doing a tour in the southeast, going up the East Coast, southwest, maybe Pacific Northwest, and then of course I got to come back to Scotland. I've made a couple of relationships with local bars here, and that's one of the gigs that I have today. Is I have a 2-hour gig at a local bar called Star Bar, my new favorite local bar. It's incredible. The owner is just an absolute delight. I adore her, and on Sunday I believe we're going to have a jam so that I can jam with some local musicians.
That must be one of the fun parts, like you get to just sit and play music and meet people. That must be so fun.
Yes, and it's such a universal and ancient way to connect. As long as there have been people, there has been music, and this is and it's always been a way to connect with others and set aside some of the bullshit that we, need to unlearn about the menial priorities, she said, using air quotes, of day-to-day life. I'm really excited for that. It's very much a universal language, so it's going to be good.
And are you? I've forgotten what I was going to ask. Something about touring.
Okay.
Are you looking forward to touring it, especially in America, where at the moment it's not good?
Yeah. Yes. I'm looking forward to touring it. It's going to be, of course, a different vibe to tour it in the U.S. I think it's a complex time, for sure. It's a scary time to take this kind of show on tour, but it's a really important message that I don't see as thoroughly as I would like to see it in the zeitgeist, and I want to help shift that narrative, and it's important enough for me to just either set that fear aside or just do it while being afraid, and I guess fall in love with the rush of that fear.
I remember somebody once said being a hero is being terrified but doing it anyway.
Yes. Oh, being a hero is. Oh well, yeah. No, that's how it is for us heroes. Yeah. No, I remember a few years ago my first experience of being terrified and realizing you're going to have to just do it. And while being terrified, the terrifiedness is not going away. I was doing a self-defense class, and it was the scenario was, if you're sitting in a chair and somebody knocks the chair backwards with you in it, and so we had to practice being pushed backwards from a chair and off from a height. Actually, it would. Yeah. So they started to put little blocks underneath the chair, and I realized you're supposed to tuck the chin so that your head doesn't hit the floor when you greet the floor, and little things like that. And I realized you just have to focus on the mechanics of what you came to do, which is to fall out of this chair without it hurting. So just welcome what gravity's about to to make happen, and it was quite a rush. It was a very formative experience. So yeah, I definitely have taken that with me ever since, and I have a feeling I'll be taking it with me on tour as well.
Where can people find out more about you online?
About
you online.
About me online. Let's see. You can find me on Instagram, Patreon, TikTok. For now, we'll see. Yeah. Yes, but my handle, my username is the same across all platforms. It's the Case Watson, THE, like the word the, case like suitcase, Watson like Sherlock, all one word.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for inviting me. This has been so lovely. And I got to practice my podcast voice. So.
Which is excellent. 10 out of 10. Can recommend.
Thank you. You're too good. You say that to all the girls, I'm sure.
No. I hope they say it to me, but no, I'd never say it to anyone. Welcome to The End of the World is playing at Fern Studio at Greenside at George Street today. Literally today, as you're hearing this. This is your last chance to see this at the Edinburgh Fringe today, because this is Case's last show. It's on at 9 o'clock in the evening, and for more information go to edfringe.com and search for Welcome to the End of the World. What a fringe this has been. We've laughed, we've cried, we've gotten up at 6 in the morning. I have had such a good time this year, and I am so grateful to all the guests, all the managers, all the PR people who got back to me, because every year I go into the Fringe absolutely terrified that no one's going to want to come on, that no one's going to want to speak to me, that nothing's going to happen, and that it'll be my last year at the Fringe, that I'll kind of hang my head and be like, okay, we're not doing this again. But every year, I feel it just keeps building and building and building and getting better and better and better, and that is thanks to everyone who assists me. Especially producer Victoria, who has to sit and listen to my moans about getting up at 6 in the morning and how tired I am and how sore my feet are and how hard life is for me, And that's, life is hard. So thank you to everybody who has helped this year's Fringe. Let's do it again next year, shall we? At least hopefully. For the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe for the last time, I've been your host, Peter Greenwood. I'll see you next year.